So, Michael, some more Joker news for you, and this just came out today, which I think is one of the most hilarious stories of the year in terms of movie
Well,
news.
I think that's appropriate because the Joker is somebody who is funny because that's why it's called the Joker.
Yes. So, Jared Leto has felt alienated and upset by the new Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie. Leto, who played the DC villain in 2016 in the film Suicide Squad, was said to be unhappy when Todd Phillips' new film was announced. He felt alienated when Warner Brothers greenlit the new film. So yeah, it's imagine being Jared Leto just for 1 minute.
Yeah, I know. It's. I just realised because we haven't reviewed Suicide Squad yet because there's a Suicide Squad 2 coming out, I guess. So we'll probably wait until then until we even review Suicide Squad. But yeah, I mean, I guess Jared Leto has realised that we do indeed live in a society. That's basically the Joker just got societied. The thing is, like, I don't know. I mean, I've kind of heard it said that like he because apparently he was bad, but like at least some of why he was bad. This is Jared Leto in the Joker film. Oh, sorry, in the Suicide Squad film. It was because of like the obnoxious editing and the fact that they kind of like cut it so a lot of things were just weird and out of context. And I don't know, like I feel like Jared Leto probably does feel a bit betrayed, but you've got to think about it's even worse because he did all of that stuff. Like, you know, he was like a proper method actor about it.
Yeah, I've just got a quote here. When making the original film, Leto reportedly sent a dead pig to the first table read, and and now he's a joke. He is.
Yeah, exactly. It's so bad. Like, imagine that.
What if Jared Leto actually becomes the Joker in real life because of this? Like that, a failed actor. You know, that would be very interesting.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. But to be honest, I don't feel like we can know that he's alienated unless he has it tattooed on his forehead. Hello and welcome to Select and Reflect, the movie review podcast where we look at films from the near and distant past. We give them a couple of watches and evaluate them beyond first impressions. I'm your host, Michael, and I'm joined as always by my co-host, Luke. And this week, we are celebrating the beginning of Spooktober, a Spooktober inspired by our last film we reviewed, which was Zombieland, and we're looking at some classic zombie films for this week's Spooktober. And we're starting with where it really all began, of course, looking at two proto-zombie films and kind of going into the beginning of the real zombie era with White Zombie and then Night of the Living Dead. So, Luke, why don't you tell us a thing or two about White Zombie?
Well, firstly, Michael, just want to say how important these two movies are in zombie film history, I guess is the phrase, because obviously you picked these movies and you picked them for a reason, didn't you?
Yeah, so basically, White Zombie, I think, is possibly... I mean, it's definitely the first film with the word zombie in it. I'm quite sure of that. And I think it's really the first film to introduce this idea. I mean, you get, for example, I guess Frankenstein is kind of close with the idea of a reanimated dead body and things like that. But the kind of idea of like hordes of zombies and the main threat being kind of the number of them and that sort of stuff really does get introduced with White Zombie, and of course then gets, you might say, perfected with Night of the Living Dead. And these two films pretty much set up what would come to be expected from zombie films going forward.
Yeah, okay, that's a good explanation. Anyway, so the first movie we're going to be doing then is White Zombie. So White Zombie is in 1932, so this is the earliest movie we've looked at. American...
When was... I just want to clarify, because we're doing this at some point in the future. When was Mr. Smith, Washington?
39, I think it would have been.
Okay, yeah, so we're... Yeah. This will be,
Yeah, the earliest for a while, anyway. So White Zombie...
Until we do Birth of the Nation.
is a 1932 American pre-code horror film independently produced by Edward Halpern and directed by Victor Halpern. The screenplay was by Garnett Weston, and it's based on The Magic Island by William Seabrook, and is about a young woman's transformation into a zombie. The movie stars Guy Beaver Williams. No, sorry, that's who the music's by.
So surely the main star is, of course, Bela Lugosi of Dracula fame.
Exactly, Bela Lugosi, but it's not listed on the right-hand side of the Wikipedia page.
That's so weird.
It's just Bela Lugosi. That's it. There's no one else. Okay. He's the only one listed. Well,
yeah, I don't know. Well, to be honest, I didn't recognise any of the other actors, so you can't go wrong with that.
Well, here's the thing. Like, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people who did the music listed, and that under where starring is. So I'd be like, oh yeah, that must be the starring one, but it's not. It's the music.
Yeah, and starring's just I'm looking now. will not look too much in case I see the answer to your next question.
Well, I'll go through the rest of the cast. It's not just Bela Lugosi playing everyone in a Mike Myers kind of way. So it's also stars Madge Bellamy, Joseph Cawthorne, Robert Fraser, John Harron, Brandon Hurst, George Burr, Clarence Muse, and Frederick Peters. And it was released in 1932 in the United States on July the 28th. And Michael, can you tell me the budget for White Zombie?
Oh my goodness. No, I can't. Let's think. So I just don't know because, I guess this was what's weird is that this was obviously not that long after the Depression, so maybe it was actually loads because, of inflation, but I'm just going to go for 600,000?
50,000.
50,000.
Yeah.
That's so crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is, obviously, this film, it feels like it would kind of have been a low-budget film even for the time, and then on top of that, you got the fact that,
well, it is.
Money was worth more then.
Yeah, it is still 5 times more than Birdemic, so...
Oh, yes.
Just put it into perspective there.
Yeah, well, Birdemic looks like $1 million picture there.
Okay. And how much did it make at the box office?
I don't know, I said 600,000 before, so... But now, with 50,000 in mind, that seems ridiculous. Let's go for 250,000. No, 175,000.
Well, here's the thing, Michael. It's not actually listed on the Wikipedia page.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So,
I wonder if... I'll see if I can find it.
Well, here's the thing. I looked down on the box office, and I'm just trying to total up all the theatres it was released in to try and get a number.
Okay.
I think we're at about 50,000. Interestingly, by the way, White Zombie was one of the few American horror films to be approved by the Nazis in Germany. So there you are.
Well done then.
It's got Adolf Hitler, his approval. So that's good. But yeah, I don't know about the box office, but we assume it probably made back its money over the years.
Yeah, it seems like it did. Yeah, I'm also looking at the random money. I don't know if it says how many theatres it was released in, but because in one theatre, for example, if I'm right, it seems to say it got 14,000. Mm-hmm. So if it,
Mm-hmm. Yes. Anyway, the film. Oh well, it says here actually on the top of the page, the film made a substantial financial profit as an independent feature, but it did prove less popular than other horror films of the time. And as you mentioned before, White Zombie is considered the first feature-length zombie film. A sequel, Revolt of the Zombies, opened in 1936.
Yeah, I was looking at that.
Yes. So anyway, it has basically been received better since it first opened. Primarily, I think, probably because it is the first zombie movie. So it started all a genre which obviously is still alive to this day. Anyway, Michael, did you like this movie? Firstly, White Zombie. Did you like it?
Well, you know what I mean. It's definitely watchable. The thing is, it is one of those films, I think this is going to be the case for a lot in this kind of podcast episode, where you kind of have in the back of your head the fact that it is so significant. And if you just think, if you're just talking about how much did I enjoy it, but all things considered, I did consider it to be, I was like, yeah, this is okay. So, that's not the best review, but yeah, I thought it was kind of entertaining, but a significant part of that entertainment was just thinking, oh wow, this is a zombie film from the 1930s.
Yeah, that's
so I don't know.
That is the thing. It's not a good movie, obviously, but entertainment wise, it's it's neat to see this zombie movie from 90 years ago, and all of that. And we'll get onto Bela Lugosi, but he does make it somewhat watchable.
I was going to say actually, I wish that I had watched some more Universal monster, so obviously the early 1920s 1930s Universal horror films, watch more of them so I could give a comparison, because I kind of suspect that the 1930s Dracula and the 1930s Frankenstein and 1930s Wolfman, was it called The Wolfman? I think it was called The Wolfman. I kind of suspect all those films are kind of similar in that in hindsight they don't really hold up, but any enjoyment you get out of them is just saying, oh wow, it's the first Dracula film, it's the first Wolfman film, it's the first Frankenstein film. So I imagine this is kind of the same in that way, and it gets pretty much the exact same kudos, I think. Would be my guess.
Have you got any nitpicks?
Yes, I think I have 2.
Okay.
No, I've got 3. Okay, how many have you got?
I've just got the 1.
Okay, so you go first.
Yes. Okay, so my one nitpick for White Zombie is when the husband is running up to the castle. Do you remember this? Right at the end of the movie, he all of a sudden he somehow runs out of stamina and energy so quickly once he enters the castle, and he's like, is that how weak rich people were back in the day? Like a slight jog up some stairs and they have to, faint because they've got nothing left in them, so he just faints on the table there and he's out cold for like 5 minutes. So yeah, that's my one nitpick.
But okay, so I've actually realised one of mine on that note would actually also be better as not a nitpick, so I've dropped it down to 2. First one of which is just, that's not what a vulture sounds like. This was especially annoying. This is especially annoying to me because, as you know, Luke, I recently reached the epiphany that on my way back and forth to university while I'm just sat on the coach, which is actually how I have to get back and forth, it's enough time for me to watch a film kind of there and back. So watch a film. Well, obviously in the case of this film, it was a very short film, so I was actually able to watch it almost all the way there. And when that fucking screaming sound happened, I had like my volume like reasonably high up because, to compete with the noise of the coach and everything. And I was like, oh geez, people think I'm probably watching some kind of like woman get murdered or something. So anyway, and then number 2, the other one is that the husband fell asleep.
All right, okay.
So
is that it then?
I agree with you on that. Yeah.
All right.
So now we cascade into the plot. And Luke, would you like to do your thing where you summarise the plot?
Sure thing, Michael. So, as mentioned before, White Zombie is about a young woman's transformation into a zombie at the hands of an evil voodoo master. Bella Lugosi stars as the zombie master, Murder Legendre. I hope I said that right. Obviously, that's legend in French, I imagine. What a name, Murder Legend. Like very creative.
I didn't clock that his name was Murder, but that's hilarious.
Yeah, with Madge Bellamy appearing as his victim. So yeah, basically this guy Beaumont, who was a plantation owner in Haiti, basically is coming back from New York to Haiti, and this girl played by Madge Bellamy is on that ship to Haiti as well to meet her fiance, and they get talking, and apparently. He falls in love with her, although there's no indication as to why this is, which is an issue we'll get onto. And so they Beaumont invites her fiancé and her back to his house to get married there, because it's a nice place and all. And he hopes, using voodoo stuff, to somehow get that girl. And he's going to steal the girl and get away with it. And he
would have got away with it too if it weren't for those meddling kids.
Yeah, and he's going to use Bella Lugosi to try and do that with his voodoo magic. And eventually, obviously, doesn't end up well for him. But anyway, Michael.
Yeah.
So let's get into the plot, I guess.
You said that we talk about Beaumont later, although, to be honest, a lot of my first thing is actually about him.
Well, this technically is later, so go on.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So the kind of one thread, as it were, is, of course, like you said, the fact this guy, Beaumont, wants to Beaumont this girl. So it's, like you say, that there is no real reason given for why he's so attracted to her. I also find, like, to me, it was just so funny that, like, first of all, like, you get the husband, he's a bit of a cuck for the beginning of it, because it's like, this is the husband, and Beaumont's like, yeah, you're right, mate. And then it's like, this is his wife, or future wife, and he's like, yeah, how's it going, girl? Spanks her on the arse, and the husband just sat there looking angry. And then my other favourite bit was when Beaumont is walking her down the aisle, and he's just like really aggressively propositioning her, and you're just thinking, that's really going to put a dampener on the whole wedding. So it's kind of a good thing that he murdered her, because otherwise, it's he had to do it just to save the embarrassment.
Yeah.
I guess you'd say it's kind of a bit campy in a way. It almost feels like that. Like the guy's like, I love her. The heart wants what it wants, and like it's kind of a bit of a. I guess you'd say the jealous lover. It's
there's no
good cliche.
There's no reason why like he falls in love with her right away. Like there's nothing that incredible about this girl really. She just seems she's normally attractive, and it's not like this guy has been lusting after her for ages. They met each other on a fucking boat from New York to Haiti. So yeah, I don't know why he's so infatuated with her, why he wants to be with her. But yeah, also,
I guess maybe you could say he's the original incel. Maybe this is the Joker movie of its time.
God, maybe. But here's the question, though. Why are they getting married in Haiti, this husband-to-be and wife-to-be? Why not in New York? Because they've got no friends or family down here. It just seems quite
I was
bizarre.
thinking that, like... I mean, obviously, see, here's the thing. In the UK, at least, you need two witnesses when you get married. And I was thinking,
well,
like,
they have
so
the witnesses, don't they? Have all the servants.
Yeah. They have those guys there. I was just thinking, like, you know, I mean, like you say, there needs to be like an explanation, like they're loners or something, or maybe like, for example, the parents disapprove of their relationship or something like that. And then that could be and then it's like, oh, they need to go to Haiti to elope, and you know that could be the reason. Oh, and the thing is, the other thing I was thinking is like they've gone to Haiti, and you would think, okay, I kind of get it. Like, I kind of get wanting to get, like, there are people who, you know, like, oh, let's get married in the Bahamas. You know, I think generally speaking, they might invite people, but let's be honest, if you're like, let's say you're kind of a working class person, you really want to get married in the Bahamas, and you're like, we're gonna, you know, it's gonna be something which we spend loads of money on, but most of your friends and family are kind of, you know, working class, then they're not very wealthy, so they're not the kind of people who can shell out to fly with you to the Bahamas. So you're like, you know what, we're gonna have our dream wedding on our own, because no one else can afford to come with us. Maybe that's it. There are lots of hypothetical explanations. I think, yeah, you could have got it to a feature-length film if you would have just inserted a 20-minute explanation for why they're going to Haiti, of all places, and also why it is that they apparently didn't have any venue planned, or apparently the venue they had planned was so shit that they were like, well, this creepy guy invited us to go to his chateau, so we'll go there instead. Lovely.
Yeah, and the guy who kept on, like, touching my wife-to-be, you know, he's seems like he's really trustworthy and all.
I tell you what, it could all be made better by the explanation that they're like swingers.
Okay, maybe. Okay. Anyway, so obviously this tale, I guess, is it's classic Hollywood, as you mentioned before. It's, you know, this woman, she's the damsel in distress, you know, that has fallen into the clutches of a horrible person. First it's Beaumont, and then it's the voodoo guy. What's his actual? Oh, it's Murder LeJohn.
Yeah, Murder.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'll just call him Bela Lugosi from now on.
Yes.
So yeah, she falls into the clutches of that person. You know, like I said, classic Hollywood. And then so here's the thing, right? She gets turned into a zombie because, you know, that's what Beaumont wanted, to prevent her from marrying her fiance. And then he immediately regrets making her a zombie. Like,
yeah,
you saw that coming. Like, what? Come on, mate. Like, you wanted to turn her into a zombie. What do you think was going to happen? Like, you saw the other zombies. Did you think she'd be different to all the others?
Yeah, I think maybe, you know what? Maybe it is like there's a deep theme of male entitlement here that he thought
very,
like
very
like he thought that he deserved her, and once he had her, he would be happy. But when he had her, he realized that he had to take away what made her her.
Yeah, but he didn't he know that already? That's the point.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. Yeah, I think so. I mean, to be honest, I can kind of see the logic. Like, obviously, for example, if you are, you know, people have different priorities. So, like, when he was, you know, the jealous lover, all he was thinking was like, I want her to be mine, and kind of assuming, well, you know, I'll be happy because she'll be mine. And then once he was hers, then it's a bit like The Graduate. You know how, like, he runs to the church, he slams Mrs. Bouvier, I can't remember what her actual name is, I only remember the Simpsons parody. Yeah. And then they run off, they get on the bus, and then they stare off into the distance and realize what a horrible, stupid, impulsive mistake they've made. This is that. This was The Graduate of its day. And he was like, ugh, she just looks like an airheaded bimbo.
Okay, right. So, fair enough. He was just so desperate to have her that he wasn't thinking straight. He wasn't thinking 2 steps ahead. He was just thinking, I just got to get her in my castle, locked away.
I tell you who else wasn't thinking 2 steps ahead. Those zombies when they walked off the cliff.
We'll get to that. So yeah, okay, but you can argue that, but here's my thing, okay. After he says to Bela Lugosi, hey, can you turn her back? You know, I don't want her to be like this anymore. He gets double-crossed right after, and it's pretty obvious as well.
Yeah.
The guy says, let's have some wine to celebrate. And it's like, oh, well, what a weird thing to have wine to celebrate having the fucking woman turn back into a normal human being from a zombie. You know, that's typically how people, what people toast to, right? And, you know, the guy hands him his, you know, wine glass, instead of him taking it from his butler, making it easy for him to drop some poison in to turn him into a zombie, which of course is what happened. And yeah, then he starts to transform into a zombie. He's just such a fucking moron, honestly.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because it's almost like they didn't really know what to do.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, let's just have Bela Lugosi double cross him. And then obviously you do get out of that, I guess. I mean, not really, but I guess you could call it a redemption arc where I guess it kind of is. I mean, Beaumont, he starts off really it's still kind of a selfish redemption arc, I guess you could say, but he starts off, like a jealous lover, and then he gets her and he realizes that, it's not the same, and that he doesn't really want her. And then obviously he gets betrayed, and then at the end, of course, he heroically, well, actually, I guess he didn't really heroically sacrifice himself, because he kind of just kills himself unnecessarily.
He's skipping to the end here, Michael.
Yeah, no, I know, but I'm saying like, because while we're talking about the character, I think it's worth bringing up the fact that he does. So I guess like part of his betrayal is that he then turns on Bela Lugosi, and I guess like the real question is, I mean the real point is that it probably would have worked better if he hadn't been betrayed, because then it would have been like, oh, he's made this decision to fight Bela Lugosi because he's realized it was wrong, which is kind of the direction they seem to be going in. But then, so basically, the fact that Bela Lugosi betrays him kind of takes away a few things. Like, number one, it doesn't really make any sense. Number two, it's kind of obvious. And the thing is, it doesn't really make any sense. Like, especially when, I mean, is this anti-gay? Because Bela Lugosi is just like, but to be honest, the person I've really wanted... He says, like, the person I've really had my eyes on. He's like, the person I've really had my eyes on was you. And it's like, okay.
Maybe he just likes...
Bloody gays using voodoo. That's the thing. That was the anxiety. In the 1930s, everyone was like, those gays, they'll get you. They'll invite you to Haiti. They'll trick you, making you think that they're going to steal your wife. And then really, they'll turn you into a zombie and they'll bum you.
Okay, well, here's the thing. Voodoo was quite thinking in the 30s, which I looked up on the Wikipedia page. But anyway, here's the thing, though, with the Bela Lugosi. You could say, well, he wanted Beaumont because he's powerful and he likes, owning powerful people to show how powerful he really is. But why does he want the girl? Why does he want that? Like, there's no plan that he has. Could we have heard that?
Yeah.
Why is he?
That's true.
Why is he
You're
interested
right.
in this girl? I don't get it. Like, Beaumont is pretty obvious. Wants to bang her. Obvious. This guy.
Yeah.
He doesn't have any motivation. It seems like maybe he does. I don't know. But it would be nice to hear it. Maybe he's also infatuated with this girl. Maybe he just wants to address the gender imbalance on his zombie squad. I don't know. But it would be nice to...
Yeah, it's bloody affirmative action.
Yeah, it'd be nice to hear that. I don't know. But yeah, that's it, basically.
I mean, for female zombies, the feminists are taking over. That's a Vine reference to 4 female Ghostbusters. So I actually have... I think I'm going to segue now into the zombie stuff, because I think that makes sense. Because I want to talk about how... So the thing is, like I say, the fact that Bela Lugosi betrays Beaumont it's kind of like, it feels like it didn't have anything to do. And here's what kind of bothered me. It was so obvious, where the film should have gone. And it triggered me so much. Because here's the thing. Okay, here's the thing. Beaumont says, I don't want her to be a zombie anymore. You should turn her back. Okay? Clearly, what should have happened is Bela Lugosi should have turned her back, maybe said a line like, oh, I've never turned somebody back before, but agreed to turn her back, maybe because he's offered, large amounts of money, something like that, so that he's still a bad guy, because otherwise he would, be doing something out of the goodness of his heart. But he's he agrees maybe because he gets paid a lot of money. And then, because he's never done it before, he accidentally frees all of the zombies from his grasp, okay? So all of the zombies then become free, but here's the twist, okay? Because what does he say? And this line, it was the biggest tease of the whole film, and it just basically he says he gets asked, he says, these people are all my slaves, and then Beaumont says, what would happen if you kind of lost control of them? I think he said that. Or what would happen if they were no longer controlled by you? And he says, they would tear me limb from limb. Now, what are zombies famous for doing, Luke?
Killing people.
Tearing people limb from limb. Okay. And I was thinking to myself, holy shit, because I'd not seen this film before. I mean, I watched it, a couple of weeks ago in advance, but I'd not seen this film before. And I was thinking, I was kind of expecting it to be, very tame, kind of, just very proto-zombie-ish. And when he said that line, I was thinking, holy shit, we're actually going to see a zombie, a proper zombie attack where someone gets torn apart. And And I thought, for example, Beaumont's butler, when the zombies swarm him,
yes.
and they take him upstairs and you hear him scream, I was thinking, oh, okay, they've implied it. They've implied that the zombies are like tearing him apart. But no, then it cuts and they throw him in a fucking river.
Yeah.
And I'm like, to be honest, like, it's kind of weird. If they would have just like cut out and just had him scream, that would have been much better. Because then I'd be like, oh wow, the zombies are like doing
too
zombie
shocking
anyway.
for a 1930s audience.
Yeah, but what I would have had, basically is that he accidentally frees all of the zombies, and then the zombies turn on everybody, and the zombies basically become kind of rabid, evil zombies, and that's the rest of your film. So, and then obviously you'd have, obviously you can't have Bela Lugosi be the good guy because you need a bad guy. So Bela Lugosi, his main thing would be trying to bring the zombies back under his control. And also, for example, you have the zombies in the sugar mill. By the way, on the subject of things being too tame for a 1930s audience, you have the bit where, did you see the bit where the zombie like falls into the kind of sugarcane,
I saw that.
grinder? Yeah. And I was thinking to myself, I mean, I guess, I am just a fan of things getting horribly ripped apart. So I guess it's good that they kind of implied that, although again, we didn't see it, but I like that. But obviously what you would have then is the zombies in the sugar mill become free, and they kind of all are running up to the castle, and it's like, oh no, we've got zombies in the castle, we've got zombies coming up here. Bela Lugosi's trying to bring them back under his control because he's evil, and maybe he's got some kind of plan there, and we've got to sort of stop Bela Lugosi, escape the zombies, not fall asleep on the sofa. I couldn't get out of laughing. Not fall asleep on the sofa because we're too tired. And then obviously at the end, Bela Lugosi is about to do something evil, and then Beaumont, having completed his redemption arc, not having been betrayed, but just realizing that he's done something wrong, then pushes Bela Lugosi out the window, say, and in doing so falls to his death, not because he's an idiot, just because Bela Lugosi grabs onto him, say, and then they both fall to their death, and then they kind of run away, and then maybe, I don't know, the natives show up at the end and they kind of do some racist 1930s chant,
that would be a really good movie, actually, and it would have made it into a bit of a classic, more classic than it is right now, because you would have the zombies actually chasing people and the zombies actually being a threat. And that's the thing with this movie, it's not really about the zombies, because they're just like mindless like drones that are controlled by Bela Lugosi. Like, it's really a movie about voodoo and witch doctors more than zombies, to be honest with you. Zombies aren't actually that important. It's more Bela Lugosi and his witchcraft powers.
Yeah. I mean, because the thing is, it's obviously they have this line which kind of is about how it's like based in reality, where and I 100% assume this is true. The line about how the penal code in Haiti basically says if you give someone a potion to make it seem, because that's how the zombie thing started. It actually started based on the fact that people would give people the kind of Romeo and Juliet poison, where it like makes people seem like they're dead, and then people would be buried and then dug up again, and that would be how they, I guess, kidnap people. And I think that's actually something that did happen, at least. Or I don't know to what extent it did happen, to what extent it was just like a massive fear people had. But obviously the fact that the penal code mentions it implies it was something that happened. And the idea is that if you did that, obviously to kind of body snatch somebody, then that would be considered murder, even if the person wasn't technically dead. And like that's based in reality. And I thought that was kind of interesting. And I do agree, so probably the main focus in a way was, like you say, the fascination with voodoo, and the zombie stuff was almost a byproduct of that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They meant, like, that's the thing though, zombies being, hordes of zombies chasing and eating people and ripping them limb from limb, that obviously was really first thought of in the movie we're going to do next. That was not, I guess, what zombies were to people in the 1930s. So that would be unusual if it was like how you described it. It would definitely have been a better movie.
Yeah, I think also, just on the subject of the fear being about the voodoo, one thing that I thought was kind of good was when Bela Lugosi was turning Beaumont into a zombie, and he kind of was like talking to him while he was doing it, and so saying like, most people aren't actually experiencing it as it's happening. And I thought that was like kind of a interesting idea, like the idea of kind of watching yourself become a kind of mindless slave. I think, and the thing that I thought about, and this is something which I've been meaning to get to since we started this review, is that in a way we've kind of come full circle with this review. And do you know why, Luke?
Why is that?
Because when we reviewed Get Out, I said that I thought, when I was trying to predict the twist of Get Out, that the twist would be that they were using voodoo to turn black people into zombie slaves. And I referenced the fact that in Haiti, one of the fears of zombies was that, one of the anxieties of zombies was that it came from slaves. And that was a kind of thing I said. And I was like, oh yeah, that's what I assumed it would be about. And obviously, the fear of Get Out is the idea of becoming a mindless slave and not having control of your own body. And that was something which Get Out really, did a really good job at harnessing. Yeah. And I was thinking, like, this film at least drew on that idea of, like, experiencing yourself becoming kind of a slave to somebody else and being a passenger in your own body, which I thought was, like, a nice, kind of cool idea to introduce as, like, a horrific element. But again, I think probably just in the 1930s, many of these ideas hadn't developed enough to the point where they really kind of twisted and nailed on that. But I was sort of thinking to myself, yeah, that's kind of a horrific notion to imagine being sat there unable to control yourself, watching yourself become a mindless zombie slave.
Yeah, no.
Like Get Out. But yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That would actually be a good segue, by the way, to talk about the race stuff.
Yeah, let's do it.
Even though I do have a few more things to say about horror, but since we've got such a great segue to the race stuff. So obviously, the main thing is that this film is about zombies, and of course, zombies are from Haitian mythology primarily. And I guess, obviously, Haiti mythology comes from West Africa, but I think, and for obvious reasons, the notion of the zombie came about specifically in Haiti because of the anxiety about the social anxiety about having a slave. And it's kind of interesting.
The social anxiety about becoming a slave.
Or about slavery. So obviously, one of the things a lot of people say about zombie films is that they are, in some way, they tend to be, in a way, social commentary.
Yes.
Something which people say about. And weirdly, that is true with kind of the inception of the notion of the zombie, because obviously, Haiti had a revolution where they overthrew the French and basically established an independent slave republic. And you can imagine that one thing they would all have in the back of their mind is, well, remember when we were slaves? Wasn't that really awful? Wasn't it terrible being forced to basically not even be a human being, not have control over your own body, and basically forced to do somebody else's bidding? And then they already had the idea of voodoo, and it was from that the notion of the zombie evolved. So what do you think about kind of that idea?
Yeah, no, I guess. What do you mean? What do I think about it? It's
the way this film, I don't know, harnesses.
Well, it doesn't
really
harness it. It's just like it's set in Haiti, so there's zombies in Haiti, and that's it. It doesn't go into the background like you have done just then about slavery.
No, exactly. Yeah. So I think, and again, that's the thing. Like, the weird thing about this film, I think, is that it's very easy to see, like, the framework of a good film, and it's kind of, to me, I would like to see this film remade. In a way, obviously remakes are always crap, but I guess what I'm really saying is I would like to remake this film.
Yeah.
Because they're like, it's an hour and 7 minutes long, and yet you think there are, like, just a few things they could have done which would have taken this film up considerably. Obviously, the thing I already said about kind of the introduction of, like, actually being like zombies, and things like exploring more kind of the thematic elements of becoming a slave. The other thing, actually, just so I can finish up my horror stuff, is that I think they should have had, like, more dialogue from the husband and wife, number one, to make them more relatable, and number two, to kind of make the film more kind of suspenseful. Mm-hmm. Like, because, and again, I don't know why I keep comparing this to Get Out.
You're not emotionally invested in them getting back together.
Not particularly. I cared a tiny bit, but obviously in Get Out, one of the scary things is the way that kind of the characters are talking like real. Mostly the one character, Chris, is talking like a real person, and you really get the sense that he's scared, and you really get the sense that something is wrong, and you get that from kind of his performance, the way he's like, no, something's wrong, something's really messed up about this place, and that kind of makes you feel more anxious. And I wish, obviously, again, for some reason, people just didn't know how to act in the 1930s. I think we've clearly established that. It does genuinely seem to be true. It's like people just worked out, like, I guess it comes from the fact maybe people used to overact on the stage. That was kind of like a convention to overact on stage.
I looked I looked this up on Wikipedia. So it was because the era of silent films. So you couldn't convey.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Couldn't convey emotion through speech. So you had to do it through overacting.
Yeah, and overacting. Yeah, okay, yeah, that makes absolute sense, yeah. So basically, people don't act like normal people, and of course that does take away from the suspensefulness, but even overacting, I think it still could have added a tiny bit if they would have been like, I'm very scared. I don't trust this Beaumont guy. Something's wrong. And again, I mean, it wouldn't have had 100% the desired effect, but I'd have been like, okay, yeah, I get it. Okay, these guys are scared. It's a scary situation. Well, well done. So I think that's another thing which they could have, added. But yeah, apart from that, the only other thing I had to say about race is that, I liked when, I can't remember all the different characters. I think maybe it was I guess he was a minister, a Catholic priest, says, she might be in the hands of natives. And the guy's like, no, anything but that. Better dead than that. I was like, yeah, I mean, yeah those are natives.
Oh, God. Yeah, so I guess, yeah, that's, typical kind of racist kind of thinking, but whatever. It's expected, really, when you talk about natives in Haiti. That's going to come up. So
yeah, more like Hatives in native.
Can we talk about the last scene now, Michael?
Okay, yes, I've got one thing. I want to talk about the last line, but we'll talk about the last scene first.
Definitely. Okay, so the last scene in the movie. The movie, as we've got, we talked about so far, not the best. Some issues, quite a bit of issues, really. But the last scene really is quite bad. Okay, so firstly, why? Okay, right. I don't know why, but when she approaches, so this is the woman who's been under the influence. When she approaches her husband with a knife because she's going to kill her because he's under the influence, the doctor, who's called Bruno, grabs her hand from behind a curtain, and that makes her suddenly drop the knife and walk away. I don't get it at all. I was trying to figure out.
The thing is, obviously. Yeah, so obviously, like, the thing that would make sense is she can't kill her husband because love is more powerful than voodoo magic. And therefore, love breaks the voodoo magic. Love will fall, in the immortal words of Elsa. That would make sense. And I guess that's supposed to be the point. I think that's supposed to be it. Like, she couldn't kill him. Of course, it doesn't make sense then that the doctor?
Yeah, the doctor. Yeah.
Doctor Who, grabbing her wrist would be, I mean, that kind of seems unnecessary. You'd think, like, the logic would be she goes to stab him, she can't, she drops the knife, and then she kind of goes out of the trance a bit.
Yes.
Instead of, basically it makes no sense. You're right.
That makes no sense. Okay, so then, obviously, the husband, who's called Neil, follows his wife, Madeline, and basically Bela Lugosi's mental control over his zombies goes when the doctor, Bruno, hits him in the head. And apparently, that's it. That's all it takes. You just hit him in the head, and then it's over. She's no longer a zombie. So this fucking Beaumont guy, he didn't even try that. Just walk up behind him and smack him in the head, and there you go. Like, you kill him, and then all of a sudden, you're no longer under his spell. And there we have it. So I'm just surprised that's all it takes for the control over his zombies to just go. And then, obviously undirected, all the zombies, just one by one, topple off the cliff in a hilarious fashion. And one of them, you can see one of the zombies, before they hit the water, one of the actors is holding their nose before they jump in the water, which is just...
I didn't notice that. Yeah,
great.
It was brilliant.
So, that's that. It's just a wonderful piece of cinema. And then there's a really nice shot, actually. I was like, oh, this is great. When so Bela Lugosi is standing at the top of the stairs with the husband and the doctor, and Madeline, the wife, is still under his control, and there's the shadow that's moving behind Bela Lugosi, and it's Beaumont, and I'm like, that's a really nice shot, actually. He's going to sneak up behind him and kill him out of nowhere, but then they spoil it by just showing him. Like, one shot later, he's just there. So it's like, well, you didn't even do that right. Like, you were setting it up really well, and then you just fucked it up. Why didn't you just have him hit him in the back of the head or push him off the cliff? And then, as you mentioned previously, so Bela Lugosi falls off the edge of the cliff. And
there's a pretty cool shot of his mangled corpse.
Yes, his mangled corpse screaming all the way as he falls down. And then fucking Beaumont decides, you know what, that looks fun, I'm going to join him. He just falls off as well.
I think maybe the best thing you can say But it doesn't make any sense because he lost control. I was going to be like, oh, he'd rather die than become a zombie. But that doesn't make any sense because he'd already lost control of.
Yeah, because
when Bela Lugosi died, surely that gave back, it kind of freed the zombies, I guess. Although having said that, it also doesn't make sense that the zombies walked off the cliff because what's her name? Mademoiselle? I can't remember what's her actual name. Madeline. Yeah. When she doesn't become an undirected zombie, she becomes a normal human being.
All the zombies were under his zombie control, and it's like cruise control. They were they didn't have that, so they just kept them walking forward.
Yeah. But yeah, either way, it doesn't make sense that Beaumont would want to.
No,
the comparison I would make to Get Out. The comparison I'd make to Get Out again, as always, is when the grandpa shoots himself in the head at the end.
Yes, it is bizarre.
Classic.
And the thing is, Bela Lugosi's death and Beaumont's death, it all happens in 5 seconds, and then it's just over like that. And it's really weird. It's one of the most important parts of the movie. The main guy dies, and it's just, that's it. Last 5 seconds, then it's done. We're over. We're moving on to that. The husband, Neil, doesn't care. He just shrugs it off. 2 people have just died in front of him.
Do you know what this is like? It's like the movie version of the flower shop scene from
It is, yeah.
It starts off kind of slow, and then towards the end, it's just like, "Hi, doggy, you're my favorite customer. Keep the change."
Yeah, just fucking 2 people die, and then he rushes back off to his wife, that's what happened over there. That's cool, I guess. The Beaumont guy's just jumped off the cliff. Fair enough. And then, his wife comes back. They have a happy embrace. But then, he gets hit on the back by a hand. And he's like, oh my god, is there still a zombie here? What's this?
It's coming. I'm so ready for this.
But then it's the old Dr. Bruner, there with his classic line, which everybody knows. Have you got a match?
It's and then he smiles at the camera. He's like, excuse me, have you got a match? You know what's funny? Okay, so like I said, I watched this film a couple of months ago, and first time got down some notes. I was looking through my notes because I like to read through my notes from last time, so I don't rewrite anything down. I can think about things, and I got to I laughed so hard at the "Have you got a match" line, which is what I wrote down. I was like, that's weird. And then obviously about halfway through the film, the doctor says when he's showing him the penal code, have you got a match? And I was like, oh, that didn't seem very funny. I wonder why I wrote that. I was actually thinking to myself, once, because it was getting towards the end of the film, and I was thinking, once this is over, I'm going to have to go back and watch that "Have you got a match" line again, just so I can see what was funny. And then suddenly, just out of nowhere, the hand comes and he's like, excuse me, have you got a match? And I was like, yep, okay, I remember exactly why I wrote that down.
Well, that shows again your memory is just atrocious, Michael. But anyway, I could never forget that line because it's like he repeats it twice. He says it right at the start of the movie when he first meets the couple, and then he says it when the husband comes over to his house, and that's it. Those are the only 2 times he says it. It's not like he consistently says it throughout the movie. So it's just
You know what? In my remake of White Zombie, there's going to be a scene where they throw gasoline or rum, I guess, 'cause it's the Caribbean, at the zombies, and then the doctor says, "Have you got a match?" And he takes it and he throws it at the zombies and sets them all on fire. And everyone who's an OG fan of the original White Zombie will go, yes!
And it's just such a weird... It's the tone of it. It's like, haha, what a funny joke. The tone of it is completely off from the rest of the movie. It is just the most ridiculous thing ever. Who thought it was a good idea? Did movies have to end on that sunny, happy note? Regardless, as if if it was a horror movie about zombies, did every movie have to end like that in classic Hollywood?
I don't know.
It is hilarious. I just want to go back and watch the movie just for that bit.
Yeah,
got a match. So yeah, that's the last scene. Just really really awful all the way through, and then the cherry on top with the match. Joke, yeah. Okay, so anyway, Michael, I think we should move on.
Yeah, I was just going to say, also,
okay, go on.
They managed to make Bela Lugosi's face float, because that's all I had. We wrote down we're going to talk about the effects. The only thing I wanted to write down is that they made Bela Lugosi's face float. I don't know how impressive that was. I was like, wow, well done. They did it. Okay. They made somebody's face float in the middle of the screen.
Let's talk about the acting now, Michael.
Yes. It was a bit over the top.
Just a bit, yeah. Like we said before, so many of these actors were from silent films, and therefore they were used to overacting. So yeah, it made sense that they did. Bela Lugosi shines because he's really good in this. Like he's properly good. Like I said, he makes it watchable. All the other actors are just kind of shit, but he's actually properly good. Which obviously he played Dracula before, very famous actor. So yeah, it makes sense that he would be.
It's also a song
good.
by Bauhaus.
Ah, good. So I just want to pick up a couple of points of bad acting, which I really enjoyed. So there's the scene of the husband when he's drinking in the bar alone.
Yeah.
It is kind of hilarious.
That's so good. I loved it.
When he tries to, like, grab the wife when he's hallucinating. And then he tries to grab her and he looks down. He's like, no, she's not there. Why?
Yeah, I know.
Oh, what a
it's like when you put on a little YouTube video of birds and your cat is like just walking around your laptop screen trying to work out where the birds are. That's what it was like.
And then afterwards, when he's having a conversation with the doctor after he realizes his wife's been taken from her grave, and the doctor is there's this line where he tries to say something 3 times and he only succeeds on the third. Like he has to stop himself after two tries because he's not doing it right.
Yeah, like, what was that?
I don't know, but he was just talking to the husband, and I'm like, do you not have a better take of that? Because you're not just done that again, you know?
It
seems like a pretty big fuck up there.
You know what, Luke? That's real life. Sometimes people stutter over their words.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, sorry, Luke. You know what? That's real life. Sometimes people stutter over their words.
Yeah, that's great. So yeah, that's the acting. You said you wanted. Should we talk about the characters along with the acting, by the way?
Actually, no, I didn't have characters. I had characters for A Night of the Living Dead.
Oh, right.
The characters. Actually, I did want to say I'll give one other example of bad acting, seeing as you gave two.
Okay.
The bit where she's reading the fortune, she's like, "I see death," and then she like just looks off into the distance before dying.
Yeah.
Great.
Also, I just want. Well, I mentioned characters and cast or whatever because I just wanted to bring this fact up. John Harron, the guy who played the husband, he was called Neil Park. The character was called Neil Parker. The actor was called John Harron, and he died in Seattle in 1940 from spinal meningitis. So
wow, there
you have it. I just thought, hey, the old, these movies, we can talk about that, but the old people and just had it so bad. Like back in the day, you could just die so easily. Imagine being an actor.
Okay, here's a crazy thing. In 2015, 300. Okay, that's not that bad actually. So in 2015, 8.7 million people had spinal meningitis. 379,000 people died from it.
Yeah, but imagine being a Hollywood actor. So this movie came out in 1932. This was just 8 years later. So he probably still had a bunch of money. Imagine being really famous and dying of spinal meningitis at the ripe old age of 32 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty shit, right? I just wanted to point that out. I'm sorry if I put a down on things, but God, like we are so lucky we live in the present day.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, we were not born in the wrong generation.
No, well, yeah, kind of. But yeah, so R.I.P. John Harron. I'm sorry I laughed at your death of spinal meningitis.
Yeah,
I do apologise. So yeah, that is
He's going to come back from the dead and haunt you.
Yeah, exactly. I just want to talk as well about the atmosphere, Michael, in this movie. I thought it was quite good. You got this
you're right.
spooky, exotic place that scares white people.
And they play drums.
Yeah, they're playing the drums. The plantation owner has a relationship to a weird guy who lives in the island. And I just always think that there is always that guy, who's just on the island who's known by the people who run it, who's just a bit of a weirdo as well.
Yeah, like in the island of Great Britain, it's Boris Johnson.
Yeah, Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah.
The guy on the island.
That would be that's the sequel you want to see. Oh no, that's awful. Like, Jeffrey Epstein, but it's like prostitute sex slaves.
Oh god. Also, what I really like the effect of the eyes. So when they're first in the carriage right at the start of the movie and you see the eyes penetrate the screen, it's like, oh, this is scary. This is actually quite good. So I just thought, this movie, we were talking about, did it scare me? No, it did not scare me, but that is unsurprising. I didn't expect it to, but I did think they created quite a good spooky atmosphere.
More like you didn't expect it. Boo!
Yeah, that's great. And I think, like you said, if there was a remake and they took that atmosphere and they made it scary, better acting and all that, then it could be a really effective horror movie because I do like the setting.
We're hyped for the Dark Universe.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Reboot the Dark Universe with a White Zombie remake, and you'll be on the right track.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. So, have you got anything else to say before I just...
No. We should wrap up, seeing as we're just over the hour mark on the Skype recording.
Well, I just want to say a few things actually about the filming of
I
this
see.
and the reception. Sorry about that. I should have mentioned this, but by the way, well, have a guess, Michael. How many days do you think it took to film this?
18.
11.
Okay.
11 days, and it had such a small budget that it had to film at night mostly. So yeah,
Okay, wow.
one of the advantages of shooting in black and white, you don't have to worry about.
Yeah, I realised that when I was on the coach, because one of the things I do like to try and actually watch films when I'm travelling, because I think it's a good use of time when travelling. But a lot of the time, because you're surrounded by windows in a car, and also your laptop's on battery power, you want to have it as dull as possible. But and I was watching this and I was thinking, oh wow, this is like really bright. And I guess, I don't know, yeah, so everything should be filmed in black and white because it makes it really easy to see everything.
Yeah, I guess.
It's very clear.
Yeah. Anyway, so I just want to read some critical reviews of this movie. And this one is from William Bonell of a great sounding newspaper, the New York World Telegram.
Wow.
Just such a 1930s old-timey sounding newspaper. Who stated, "The plot is really ridiculous, but not so startlingly so as the acting." So this is the theme I got from the critics, just looking at the critical response in the Wikipedia section. People really did not like the acting. Yes. So here's... I'm trying to find another one. Okay, so from Liberty, here's a review. "If you do not get a shock out of this thriller, you will get one out of the acting."
Oh, that's interesting, because obviously I think kind of what I would have assumed is that in a way the bad acting was somewhat symptomatic of the quality of acting at the time, and like you say, the fact that people tended to overact and things like that.
Well, yeah.
But apparently they thought it was bad acting too. Maybe they, probably is the case. They were like, "Oh, this was way too underacted." They didn't wave their hands about enough.
Yeah, maybe.
There were no title cards to tell me what they were saying. I had to use my ears.
Interestingly, in the United Kingdom, the kinematograph. Sorry, that should be Kinematograph Weekly. That's how it's pronounced.
Is it? Wait, okay.
Yeah, the Kinematograph Weekly.
So I'm assuming it starts with a K.
Yes, it does. Yes.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say because
I'm not
otherwise
just horribly mispronouncing cinema. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know what? So Kino, as in Nazi zombies. Kino de Totten means cinema.
Yes. So this publication in the United Kingdom thought the film was quite well acted and had a good atmosphere.
Bloody Brits, what do they know?
Thought too, it was not for the squeamish or the highly intelligent.
I mean, I guess, yeah. I mean, maybe there's like some of that's, yeah. I guess. I mean,
the Cinema
squeamish.
News and Property Gazette thought the film was for the less sophisticated, and that the exaggerated treatment of the subject achieves reverse effect to thrill or conviction. So, yeah, so basically everyone's shitting on this movie because it's not high
except for Hitler,
except for the Nazis. It's not highbrow enough, Michael. Basically, White Zombie, and yeah. Also, the director Victor Halpern said years later, "I don't believe in fear, violence, and horror, so why traffic in them?" After expressing a distaste for horror films, so even the director didn't like it. So what does that say?
Says that he's pretty woke.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there are people who have hated their own good films.
Yes.
Why not?
Okay, yeah. Or another nice one from the Harrison Report. These are great publications here. The type of audiences that go for horror pictures will enjoy it. Just absolutely all these reviewers just shitting on people for enjoying horror movies. And yeah, it's kind of the same today, you'd say. Horror is still looked down upon.
Yeah, that's true.
In a lot of places. So yes, I think we should conclude now. Michael, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I will. So, yeah, the thing about this film is that it's not great, although there is something enjoyable about it. Like when you're watching it, I mean, there's like a variety of things I think are enjoyable about it. First of all, it is stupid in some areas, particularly that last line. It's just hilarious. There are things about this film that are very funny, just based on how camp kind of feels like the right word in terms of kind of the antiqual nature of it. And then the other thing about this film, I think, it adds some entertainment value to it, is thinking to yourself, wow, this is the first zombie film. And I think genuinely out of that, you can get some enjoyment. Like, I would kind of say, if you're a horror fan, you should watch this film. Now, having said that, the main drawback to me, I think, and also, the other positive, of course, is at the beginning, I think it's pretty okay. I mean, the atmosphere is quite good, like you already said. I think there were some missed opportunities, like they could have really twisted the knife a bit more with kind of the anxiety-ness of being in some weird guy's house. But really, towards the end is where it kind of falls apart. And again, I think the main thing that would have helped this film is a more coherent understanding or coherent concept of a zombie. Because I think what helps a lot of good zombie films is that they have a very good idea of what a zombie is and what makes a zombie scary, which is, of course, the fact that they swarm you, they tear you apart. It's not a nice way to die because you'll be eaten while you're alive, screaming. Should have done that. With all that said, I don't want to be too harsh on it because I think it was kind of quaint, but I'm not going to be too nice to it because I think it was kind of crap. Having said that, I'm going to put it on the precipice between a 4 and a 5, which I think is appropriate for. I think that's kind of, if I were to put like a film that's not very good, but quite significant, and you should probably watch it just based on its significance, but ultimately there's a lot of missed opportunities, I would think that's kind of on the precipice between a 4 and a 5. And in practice, that's actually between Men in Black 2 and Ant-Man. Again, I don't know. I mean, Ant-Man, I just remember finding Ant-Man very uninspired and boring. It's kind of weird comparing like Ant-Man, which is a big budget Marvel polished film, to this, but yeah, I think I'm kind of happy with that. It's interesting. It just misses the mark in a few places. So,
okay, yeah. So for me, I'd say that this is obviously it's what you really expected out of a 1932 zombie movie. The zombies, unfortunately, they're not scary, and like you said, they could have done better with the plot, really. And obviously, the last scene is just hilarious in so many ways. But again, it was only shot on a budget of $50,000. First zombie movie. That's something, and Bela Lugosi's performance is really good. He does make it bearable, and just make it kind of intriguing as well at times. And obviously, there's the first of its kind, so it deserves some props for that. So I guess, I don't know, it's kind of hard to rate this movie.
Yeah.
But should I? Yeah, I'm thinking 4 out of 10.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's.
Yeah.
In practice, probably a bit lower than me because I guess mine would really translate to a 4.5. But yeah, that's fine.
4 out of 10. Okay. So now, Michael, we have done White Zombie. Let's move on now to Night of the Living Dead, possibly one of the most famous zombie films ever created. Certainly the genesis of the modern zombie movie. And so, yeah, Michael, Night of the Living Dead. I guess. Well, here's the thing: you normally introduce things, don't you?
Yeah. You know what, Luke? But it's fine. Just you do your whole. Maybe I'll introduce. Maybe we'll complete switch up, and I'll do.
Oh, do you want to switch
intro.
it up? Go on then.
No, okay.
Have you got the Wikipedia page in front of you?
Yeah, I do.
Make sure you hit the 1968 one, yeah.
Yep, certainly, Luke. Night of the Living Dead is a 1968 American independent horror film written, directed, photographed, and edited by George A. Romero, co-written by John Russo, and starring Duane Jones and Judith O'Dea, also starring Marilyn Eastman, Carl Hardman, Judith Ridley, and Keith Wayne. And Luke, why don't you tell us that? I mean, I guess we'll say...
You need to tell me what date it was released, Michael.
Oh, it was released... What date?
Yes.
1968.
No, the specific date.
Oh, sorry. Oh, did I say the specific date? I didn't know we did that. Okay,
you
yeah.
just never pay attention.
It had its theatrical premiere on October 1st, 1968, and I kind of saw the budget and the thing, but I can't quite remember them, so...
No, I'm going to guess.
Okay, yeah.
I thought
do you not know?
What we were doing. No, I don't.
Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, okay, I didn't know if you knew. So, okay, Luke, what do you think was the budget for this film?
So I accidentally just looked at the Wikipedia page and it says it earned like 250 times its budget, so that's not good. When you tell me it, then I'll hopefully be able to work out the box office. But anyway, so the budget, let's go for $500,000.
$114,000.
Right. Okay, fair enough.
So what was the box office? Come on, 2 plus 2 plus is 4. Minus 1, that's 3. Quick maths.
$30 million.
12 million. Yeah, you just exposed yourself as somebody who... Oh, okay, actually, no, wait. Okay, so actually, No, you're right. Holy shit, you're right, yeah. It got 12 million domestically, and 18 million internationally.
Yeah, I thought my maths wasn't that bad. I was like, shit,
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Moron.
Sorry, I wasn't even, I was just reading the first bit. So yeah, you're right, yeah, 12 million, yeah, so well done, Luke, and I'm sorry for making fun of you for being so stupid.
No, thank you, yeah. I realise it just says right next to it, 12 million domestically and 18 million internationally. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I swear I didn't see that.
Yeah, it's okay, I trust you.
All right.
I mean, to be honest, Luke, even if you were able to add 12 and 18 together, it's still very impressive.
It says the fucking budget above it as well, Christ.
Yeah, I guess the real question is, though, did you like this film?
Night of the Living Dead, yeah, I thought it was decent, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was decent too. But no matter how decent we thought things were, we always have nitpicks. So how many nitpicks do you have?
Okay, so I realise my nitpicks are all kind of the same. They're just about people dying. And
okay.
I just have a problem with 3 of the deaths, so that's fine.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I've actually got 4 nitpicks. I think maybe some of mine are kind of to do with people dying, but yeah, so hit me with your death nitpicks.
Okay, so the first one, the girlfriend of the young teen couple.
Yeah.
They don't stop when their car is on fire, which is fucking stupid, but whatever, okay. Then when they're trying to get out the car, the girl, of course, I've got my skirt, I think it was, caught on something, and so they can't get out the car, and so it blows up. Wow. Yeah. Just, what a time to get a piece of clothing caught on something, eh? Next up, so it's when the little girl kills her mother. It's just, how long does the little girl take to walk over to her mother? Is it 10 seconds?
Yeah, well, maybe she was tired. Maybe she just had to have been walking around in Haiti all day.
Yeah, maybe. It's just like she grabs the fucking spade and in slow motion starts to walk towards her. Hey, maybe you could just get up and like move slightly to the left. Maybe that would stop her killing you. Maybe, I don't know. So that's that one. Next up, so the guy who shot Ben couldn't tell that he had a gun. Like, here's the thing. You want Ben to die at the end of the movie.
Why? Because you're racist?
For various reasons. If you are the director, you want Ben to die at the end of the movie. Okay. Why have him hold the gun, though? Because guess what? These zombies, they're not holding guns. They are all, as these people have seen before, they're not that smart. They don't hold guns. So why would you, yourself, have somebody have a gun? Also, if you're the director, why would you have the character who's going to die hold a gun? Surely he puts the gun down to look out the window. That's it. You don't need. You don't need him to have the gun.
Or he has the gun in his hand, but he's not aiming down the sights. Like he's kind of just because then realistically they might not see it.
But you can tell if somebody's holding a gun. Basically, and it's a big gun as well. So that's just it's a shame, and it could have been easily avoided. So those are my 3 nitpicks. What are yours?
Okay, yeah. So my one. The first woman, I don't remember her name. Julie? Barbara, of course it's Barbara.
Barbara, yeah.
Yeah, because, she crashes the car not very fast at all, and she's really stupid for crashing the car. In the first scene where she's being chased by the zombie. I mean, I know, like, the thing is, they're so slow, and she's in the car. I know she was panicked, but just don't crash the car. Okay, the arsehole guy, who, arsehole at Salaman, he pays attention to the radio, even though they must have walked past it to go into the basement. He comes out of the basement, and it's as if he's been in the basement the whole time, when that's obviously not true, because he went into the house to go to the basement. He comes up, and it's like a radio! And it's like the first thing he sees when he comes up, and it's like, you were there earlier. You must have known it was there. Anyway, and... Okay, yeah, this is another one. Like, when the truck explodes, like, you can't see their bodies. It's very clearly a truck set on fire with nobody in it. But then their bodies do magically reappear when the zombies want to eat them, so that's fine. And why is it daylight when they're interviewing the militia? So it's obviously called Night of the Living Dead. It's nighttime. And I know America has multiple time zones, but she says it's 3 a.m. And then they have the interview of the people, and it's daylight. Clearly, while they're being interviewed, and obviously, they're in Pennsylvania. So I guess 3 a.m. So the earliest it could have been is in LA would be, I guess 9 p.m. It might still be daylight, actually. So apart from that, plot. So you know what, Luke? Let's bloody get it the right way around. Why don't you tell us about the plot?
Okay, sure thing, Michael. So the plot of Night of the Living Dead. Story follows 7 people who are trapped in a rural farmhouse in western Pennsylvania, which is besieged by a large and growing group of living dead monsters. Hence why it's called Night of the Living Dead. It all works. So,
Yes.
This movie, I just want to, before we get into the plot, talk about, I guess, the significance of this. Because as we mentioned before, White Zombie is the first proper zombie movie, but this one is the first actual proper zombie movie as we know zombies today. So,
yeah, even though the word zombie is never used in this film.
Oh, that's the thing, man. I was going to get onto it. You're correct. The word zombie is not used. So this film is often considered the first of the fictional zombie movies of the modern culture, like the genesis of it, the progenitor. Romero's film introduced the theme of zombies as reanimated flesh-eating cannibals. And although the film is regarded as one of the launching pads for the modern zombie movie, as you mentioned, Michael, the screenplay itself never actually uses the word zombie. In fact, Romero would later confess that he felt the film's antagonists were distinct enough from the Haitian zombies that they were something completely new, with Romero actively avoiding any similarities between the two creatures, and he says the antagonists in his film were meant to be zombies, later saying, "I never thought of my guys as zombies when I made the first film. To me, zombies were still those boys in the Caribbean doing the wet work for Lugosi," obviously referencing Bela Lugosi in White Zombie. So he did not see the connection between the two, although if you, of course, this is called Night of the Living Dead, these people are the living dead, that's what they're referred to in this movie. Do you remember in White Zombie they also call the zombies the living dead?
Yeah, I do know that. Yeah.
So that's where the connection is. So yeah, that's just the background on this movie. A very important movie in horror movie history and obviously zombie history as well.
Yeah. So I think regarding that, actually, I think one thing that I thought was kind of fun was like watching them work out some of the classic things we know about zombies. And obviously the one thing that everyone knows about zombies, for example, is that you kill zombies by shooting them in the head. And that's something which nowadays pretty much everyone knows. It's like, you go for the headshot. That's how you kill a zombie. And obviously in this film, that's just the idea they came up with. I mean, obviously you see him shoot, this is, I'm not going to remember any of the names for this. The main character, shoot the zombie in the chest several times and it doesn't die. And then he shoots it in the head and you're like, oh yeah, okay, you got to shoot him in the head. So I like that. I like kind of the fact that because it was the first zombie film, there's that element of like, every other, and this is kind of the thing. So a lot of zombie films have that moment of panic. Of course, for example, you see it in Zombieland, where Jesse Eisenberg, he gets attacked by the zombie for the first time. And what's always funny when you think about that is you think to yourself, do these people know about zombies? Does the zombie media concept and the zombie media phenomenon exist in this universe? Or is this like the first time anybody's seen a zombie before? Whereas in this film, whereas in this film, you don't have to ask that question because because there's never been anything like this presented in a film before. You can't watch Night of the Living Dead and be like, have these people seen Dawn of the Dead before? Because they haven't. And I kind of thought that was like, so it's kind of like actually genuine. It felt, it doesn't suspend your disbelief, it succeeds in suspending your disbelief to see these people actually be like, what's going on? And you're like, people in 1968 would have no idea if nowadays everyone would be like, oh, it's a zombie apocalypse outside.
Yeah, no, that is a really good point, actually. That's the thing. This is the first modern zombie
Thank you, Luke.
movie.
That means a lot to me.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah. So it does feel. I was thinking that, and I was having listened to the point. I'm like, yeah, it does feel more realistic because these people have not consumed any zombie media. This is the first major zombie movie, so there's nothing to reference for them. What these creatures are. They're totally bemused by them, totally baffled by them, and so yeah, it makes total sense that these guys would just be so scared and so confused about everything and not know what to do. Whereas obviously in Zombieland, for instance, there's been so many zombie movies that have come out since 1968. Then it's like Jesse Eisenberg should know as soon as this woman starts attacking him, like, oh, this is a zombie. She was bitten by a zombie. That's why she's turning into a zombie. Oh, I've got to kill her. And therefore, that makes it just, I guess, more realistic in this movie, makes it scary, gives it a better atmosphere, and so yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, but having said that, obviously, so I guess the thing about this film is it is what you would call a survival film. The idea is that it's you're stuck in a cabin or a house and you need to defend it for the night, which is an interesting idea, I think. So one thing, obviously we just brought up the fact that, the notion of a zombie would be new at this point. And I was kind of thinking to myself that in a way, the zombie survival plans have generally got better as time has gone on. Like, you would not see a film made nowadays, I don't think, where people's like plan was just to, board up a couple of windows. They'd be like, we got to get to a specific place. There'd be some, big plan apart from just, boarding up some windows and just being like, yeah, that should do it. And part of that is obviously the fact that these zombies are quite weak sauce as far as zombies go. But I think that's kind of an interesting like thing, because obviously the main fear in this film comes from not knowing what's happening, like not knowing what's going on. And I think, like I said, because other films you can't do that, they kind of have to have the zombies be a bit more threatening. Like, they're really banging on the windows, really trying to get in there. Whereas in this film, they're kind of just, they're a bit lazy.
Yeah,
and I guess
not that enthusiastic or active.
Yeah, in fact, actually, what I wrote was it's a zombie apocalypse on easy mode, which I think is true. But I think the thing is, you compare it to, for example, Day of the Dead, which we'll be looking at soon, where the main focus of Day of the Dead, I think much more realistically, is that this is months, if not years, into a zombie apocalypse. And the question is, how long can society or can humanity sustain itself when society has been destroyed? Whereas in this film, society is not destroyed at all. Basically, it just has like a rough night. And I think that's it's a unique, weirdly in a way, it's a unique concept for a zombie film, because lots of other zombie films, the focus is not on just surviving the night. In fact, I think lots of zombie films kind of take it for granted that it wouldn't necessarily even be that hard to survive the night, because all you need to do, and you think about it, like, all you got to do is just like, if there was like, hey, there's a zombie apocalypse right now, you need to survive the night, I'd be like, all right, get the fridge, take it upstairs, maybe the freezer too, so they can, because then they'll stay cold as long as the power's on, and then just possibly even just destroy the stairs, like get whatever heavy object I can and just smash the stairs to pieces. If I can't do that, just pile a bunch of shit at the bottom of the stairs and just be like,
this is your plan again, isn't it?
Yeah, well, you know what? Like, I mean, I have different plans for different zombie scenarios, obviously. So it depends on But in this situation, if someone's just like, you've got to, because obviously when we're talking about Zombieland, we were talking about how do you survive the collapse of society in a zombie apocalypse. This film, it's not about how would you survive the collapse of society in a zombie apocalypse. It's how would you survive one night against pretty weak zombies. And the answer to that question is basically just go upstairs. Yeah. They can't use ladders, so if you can destroy the stairs, that would be great. Okay. If not, just pile shit up. Yeah, well, but basically, the point is, what I'm saying is that it's not like this terrifying, what would you do? It's kind of more like a terrifying, what's going on?
Yes, exactly. So you said these zombies are weak sauce, and that is accurate. They aren't the scariest things ever. And like, you could probably just stay alive by just being in a field and just jogging past them.
Yeah, or like, the thing is, when like the zombies are coming, it's like, there must be 10 of them outside. They say that. And I was thinking, you could literally walk outside with a hammer and chisel, just as the zombies kind of slowly walk up to you, just line up the chisel against their forehead and just hammer into them, pull it out, walk a couple of paces, wait until, get another zombie off. And literally, you could do that. It would take 5 minutes and you could just kill all 10 of those zombies. And if they're coming at like by the end of it, there's like maybe, I don't know, 30 of them. You could have literally, all they need to do is just walk out and just casually, just put in a bit of effort. Yeah. Basically, the message of this film really is a stitch in time saves 9.
Okay, so here's the thing though. Like you said, it's the fear of the unknown. It's the fear of like, what the fuck is happening? Why are there so many people coming back from the dead trying to kill me? That's what's scary about it. And obviously to its society in the 1960s, which is quite, conservative and not used to the culture. We are forgetting that, the zombie culture that we have nowadays, just that are they're quite reserved. They wouldn't, if they see some blood on the news, then they faint. I don't know. That seemed to be the impression I got.
Yeah, basically the entire society was Barbara.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, apart from the black people, which I can't see.
They were used to it.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the thing. So yeah, it would be incredibly scary to these people to see what's happening, and that's where the film, why it's so good, why it still holds up, just because you recognise how scary it must have been for these people in this time period.
Yeah, I think that's it, because I think there's something kind of, I guess actually in a way, there's this idea we have that we're sort of like outside of the food chain, and that basically we don't have to worry about these kinds of things. Like for us, most other animals, their situation is like life or death, like on a daily basis. And for us, it's just like, if someone dies, that's like the worst thing ever. And in a way, there's kind of like, I suppose, there's a line which almost kind of speaks to that, which is when they say, oh, there won't be time for funerals, you're just going to have to burn people, just like they're just corpses. And I guess in a way you could say that that's the thing about this film. It's kind of about the anxiety around death, and that's what makes it scary, because it's not so much the idea of these creatures present a huge physical threat, so much as it's the disturbing notion of the fact that there's even the idea that we have to do anything to stay alive and like not be eaten. And obviously also then the fact that when people do die, it's not something which we can go, oh, that's sad, let's all sing Amazing Grace. No, you just gotta burn them.
Yeah, so what you're saying is everyday life is effectively a life and death situation in which you can die quite easily if you just walk around the wrong corner, and then you can't, you have to think, I guess, logically about people who are dying, and you can't think emotionally. You have to just burn them, like you said. So, something, again, that we don't have to deal with. And obviously that's the way we like it. But yeah, if you are thrust into this world, then yeah, it would be your whole sort of view of the world would be changed. So yeah, that's a good point as well. I just want to point out one thing though, about this movie which I don't like. And I don't know.
I've got something I don't like actually. So we'll see if maybe we're on the same track.
Well, I don't like how this focuses, or this thing is affecting America. The whole of America. Oh, yeah. Like, I'd be much happier if it was just focused on Western Pennsylvania. That's still quite
I can get
big area. I guess you could argue, it fits into some themes about American society, which we'll get onto later, but just some local stations knowing about what's happening and still some confusion about what's going on.
Are you talking about, what you're describing, Luke, is the film Eight-Legged Freaks, where a bunch of radioactive spiders take over a small town in western Texas.
Okay. Well, yeah, I just think, less focus on the whole country, just in a smaller area. That would have been better.
Yeah, no, I agree. That wasn't what I had written down, actually, but I think that is a good point. And I guess that kind of speaks to, I suppose, that you could say is the other kind of scary idea, which is the idea of kind of being isolated from the authorities.
Yeah,
and again, that speaks to kind of removing, and the idea of the government not caring.
There must be some comfort knowing the government is on it and the FBI is talking about it and all that. But if if there is nothing to do with that, it's it's an isolated problem. So the FBI isn't notified or won't be notified till the next day, and the president doesn't know until the next day. Then it does make things scarier when there's just a few stations speaking about it and having reports which aren't that confirmed. They're just like, one woman told me this, and that's all we've got on this story at the moment. So rather than just a whole bunch of scientists talking about the phenomenon that's happening, I think that would be scarier.
So I had so that wasn't actually my negative. My negative was basically we've spoken about the fact that obviously the plan of just staying put is kind of a bit of a, let's say, basic plan as far as your zombie survival plans go. And to be honest, I'm fine with that, like I say, because I think that makes sense within the context, and I think it's actually almost something to the film's advantage.
Are you sure you're fine with that, Michael? Are you sure?
I'm fine with it. But I do want to talk about another thing, which is everything apart from that, which is basically their plan, primarily focused on the plan to get gas for the car. I know, like, you kind of already addressed most of this in the nitpicks, but I think, like that's the fact it's their plan. It's just so funny to me that, like, they're just like, hey, you got to drive there. And then he puts the torch down next to the gas pump, and then Billy, is that his name? Starts pumping the gas, like, before it's reached the thing, and he just sprays gas everywhere over the thing. And you just got to think, like, you're so dumb. You're so stupid. Just don't be that dumb.
Yeah, and especially when there's some fire around, just make sure you're getting this right. You can't be that much of a moron, but yeah. Yeah,
it's literally the one thing they had to get right. And I think the other funny thing I want to say, I mean, in a way, I don't know if this is like a criticism or a good thing. I just found it kind of weird. The cellar, or the basement, was perfectly safe all along. I don't know. Like, I don't know. How do you feel about that, Luke? Because a whole thing throughout the whole film is like, we should go down to the basement. It's safe. Oh, but if you go down to the basement and they get in there, then you're not going to be able to do anything. And obviously they stay out there. Everyone dies except for Bert? Bill?
How can you not know the main character's name? How?
Let me look at... I'm going to get a list of the cast up.
It's
Ben.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, got you. I knew it started with a B, and it was a single letter name. And then Ben goes down, and he's completely fine in the basement. And I just found that, like, I don't know. How do you feel about that, Luke? How do you feel about that? The whole film was about how not going down to the basement was the plan. They shouldn't have gone down to the basement then.
It doesn't make sense from a narrative perspective, because surely Ben would be the one then telling them to go down into the cellar, and he would be proved right. But he's like in the cellar, and he's the only one that survived, and he's just looking at the dead body of the husband. He's like,
he was like, we've got to go down in the basement.
It's like, I guess you were right then, pal. We should have been in the basement. Well, you got that one right.
Yeah.
I'll give you.
You know where they should have been, Luke? They should have been upstairs, and they should have destroyed the steps. I don't know if I mentioned that.
Well, here's the thing. If I was in this situation, my initial reaction would be to agree with Ben, because here's the thing. If they break into the cellar, you are fucked. And obviously you can escape through various doors and windows in the house. And these zombies...
Yeah, to be honest, though, I think, honestly, like, between the two options, Ben's choice was the best. I think the main, like, obviously the correct thing to do in a zombie apocalypse is to kind of hold up in, like, one room with two exits, so an entrance and an exit, or, like, multiple exits, rather than holding up in a whole house, because in a whole house you've got every single window. Or, just an idea, you could go to the upstairs and destroy the stairs behind you.
Yes, there's a good point. But yes, I guess they should have done it so the cellar, because obviously Ben's meant to be, the main character. He's meant to be the one that's right. He's, the most level-headed character. Yeah. It would make sense if the husband went into the cellar and therefore he died because of that, and he couldn't get out. And it was a death trap, like Ben said at the start of the movie. But here's the thing: they spend a long time talking about the cellar, and they spend like 5 minutes. I was like, okay, this is definitely gonna come back at some stage and be a real important point in the movie, but it's not really. Like, it's Ben just retreats back into the cellar after everyone's died,
and literally when there's hundreds of zombies who know he's in there, smashing on the door, and it doesn't give.
Yeah, they can't get in. So it's like, what was the message then from all this talk about the cellar?
I guess the message is, it doesn't matter if you're right if you're an arsehole.
It doesn't.
You can be right about the cellar being the safest place, but if you're an arsehole who nobody likes, then basically nobody's going to want to come down to the cellar with you.
Or it doesn't matter if you're wrong in a zombie apocalypse about something, because it's all about luck.
Yeah.
How about that for a meaning? I don't know, but yeah, it was just, they spent a lot of time talking about it, and for it not to really influence the movie, or have a decisive plot point that involves the cellar or involves going into staying outside in the house, and therefore one survives and one doesn't. It doesn't end up like that. It's just it's quite weird.
Yeah. And the final thing, I think the final thing I had to say about the plot is that obviously the main character dies at the end, which I think, I feel like that's kind of a controversial. I mean, obviously you kind of get like Psycho, where the main character dies like halfway through, but see if I can get this right. So yeah, what do you think about like the fact that the main character dies? Because obviously it's kind of a bit of a strange moment.
Are you trying to make a point here? Because you keep on like.
No. Okay, so basically, my only thought is like, usually your main character survives,
but this one
and
dies.
usually your main character is like a hero who saves the day, and then he comes out the other end of it, and everything's fine. But in this film, I guess what I find weird is that this film is quite early on. Mm-hmm. And yet it's surprisingly kind of unconventional, it seems to me. Like with the fact that you have this reasonably beautiful, attractive white woman who's like blonde and kind of innocent, and she gets fucking torn apart, presumably. I mean, we don't see it again, but I think this time at least we can be reasonably confident it does happen. And then obviously you have a kind of heroic, macho man who's your hero, and then he just gets like unceremoniously shot at the end of it all. Like, it's kind of surprising to me that it is as like is it unconventional as
I
it
think
is,
we'll
given
get
that
into
it's kind of
themes.
the first film?
The themes may explain that. I think.
Okay, yeah, all right, okay, that's fine.
Okay.
So the only other thing I had to say, like, that was kind of related to the plot was some of the horror elements.
Yes, let's talk about that.
So, first of all, speaking of unconventional, the black guy is the last guy to die.
Wow.
But also, okay, it has a jump scare. I don't know, I kind of find that funny whenever I watch a horror film and has a jump scare in it, because obviously what I'm referring to is the scene where she walks up, possibly the scariest scene in the film. Okay, so obviously this film is not scary. I guess we should just say that right away. I was not reticent to watch this film late at night. I was perfectly happy. I could watch this film late at night, go downstairs, walk around in my dark house, no problem. Not a scary film.
Yeah,
That's
I agree. It
criteria.
was not scary.
Yeah,
No.
but the scariest bit, I think, was the bit where she walks upstairs and you see the dead body that's like been, I guess, partially eaten, and it's got like the eye protruding a bit out of the skull, and it's just, yeah, it's like a dead body. That's the answer. And yeah, so that I just thought that was, yeah, I guess well done for having a kind of jump scare, gory thing. And yeah, this thing, okay. Scene of them eating the organs. I just found that kind of cool, because obviously, what
That's
have I been
the bit
angry
that
for
got the
this-
critics mad.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Because yeah, obviously we've heard about people being ripped apart. We don't see anybody get ripped apart in this film. We get, I guess, the implication of it. I think they say at some point, somebody says, "They're tearing people apart. You're tearing me apart, Lisa." And we don't see that. But what we do see is people who have already been killed having their organs devoured, which is going to be relevant when we watch Day of the Dead. So yeah, what do you think about that? Do you think that was pretty?
No, it was, because I think the rest of the movie isn't that scary. There's not that much violence, and then all of a sudden you've got the zombies eating people's like organs and like arms and stuff. I was like, wow, that's a massive change in tone and how dark this movie is. So yeah, no, I liked it. What can I say?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
It was like, oh, this is,
you freak.
This is quite interesting. So yeah, that was good. I like that scene. But here's the issue I have, I guess, with the scariness of, well, not the scariness, because like we said, it's not scary. But so the idea is, of course, there's hordes of zombies around this small farmhouse. You know, they've got to survive and all, and that's what's scary. But
Yeah.
why are there so many zombies in that area anyway? That's what I just kept on thinking. It's a rural area. There's no towns nearby. You know, why are there like 50 zombies outside this house? Why have they all gone here? I just didn't understand why.
Well, obviously, I mean, see, the thing's obviously there's a graveyard nearby.
But are they
said that,
popping out of the fucking graveyard? Are they coming out of the coffins? Is that it?
yeah, I mean, obviously, so I think the implication is that like some people who were dead were reanimated. Having said that, obviously, I don't.
Why
want
are
to
they
think
all
right
walking
now.
towards this farmhouse though?
Yeah, that's it. And I was also going to say, sorry, that obviously many of the dead people in graveyards are probably decomposed past the point of becoming zombies.
Yeah, exactly. And they can't get out of the coffins.
I wonder how long it takes, actually. That would be interesting. How long does it take for a corpse to decompose to the point that they could no longer be a zombie if they were reanimated, because they would lack the necessary muscle tissue to animate their own bones?
What an interesting
Who knows?
question. I don't know. Yeah.
Anyway, I honestly, I don't really know. I mean, obviously, in theory, like, there were like, I'd say between 30 and 50 zombies. Maybe? I mean,
Yeah,
maybe
exactly.
it was more. But like 30 and 50 zombies, you kind of think, well, I guess there are that many. Like, there's probably at least 30 people in my street right now. So I guess there are that many people around, but then obviously the question would then become, well, why did they go to that house? Maybe it's a case of like,
They heard noise. I don't know.
I was gonna say like maybe it's
They can
like,
smell
but I
humans.
was thinking about like a hamlet, but that doesn't really work because I don't think America's ever had hamlets. So like maybe it's like a hamlet in the center of a village, and it's like the people around are like in a village, but none of that really applies to America. But maybe it's like a similar concept. Maybe it's like, you know, the house used to be where the landed gentry lived, and that's why it's surrounded by farmland. And then around that house, there's kind of a village kind of thing, or the American equivalent to a village, like a residential area, and people live there. And then they kind of go to the center of the residential area, because why wouldn't you?
Doesn't really seem like a gentry style house that they're staying in, to be honest.
Yeah, let's just pretend that everything I said made sense.
Okay.
No, yeah,
Everyone does that anyway, don't worry. Yeah, I mean, it's just a small. Well, it's not really a small issue. It's a medium-sized issue with the film. If there was some explanation, that would suit me. I'm fine with it happening if it makes sense. But it's like they're in the middle of nowhere. But why is there so many zombies around here? 10 that would be fine, and maybe 10 would still be scary. Because I don't know, but that's an issue I have. Anyway, Michael, do you want to get onto the themes of the movie?
Actually, I had characters. I just wanted to say a few things about characters and some other things. So, number one, I mean, the woman is kind of annoying. This film, it kind of has, I guess you'd say, interesting characters.
I can tell you like
it has like very obvious characters. So but so you get Barbara. She's pretty annoying at the beginning, where like you got your strong man, your man who knows how to handle things, is being perfectly rational, and you got your over-emotional woman. And this woman is sat there, not helping, just being a pain in the neck. And frankly, Luke, I thought she was kind of annoying. I mean, it was a bit like, I didn't really care about her, because I was like, if you're just gonna be all shouty and screamy and shout, I don't know, over and over again, like you're in, Wicker Man. How'd it burn? I don't know. Do you remember that?
I think so.
Anyway, okay. And yeah, she was kind of annoying. So that's just that. And then also, obviously, the other characters, I mean, you could say kind of the high school people, teenagers, were a bit stereotypy, but the main thing, I think, is the arsehole guy. Obviously, the guy who's just like such a dickhead. It's a bit of a kind of horror movie trope that you get these characters who are just unrealistically arseholey. And I think it's something which I tend to not really like about a lot of, films in general, obviously horror films, when you get this guy who's just like such an obvious kind of bad guy.
Yeah, he's definitely going to die.
Yeah, and there's this bit where, like, I think for me the main bit was when like the guy was trying to get back into the house, the Ben, and he was like, let me in, and I don't remember the arsehole.
He was called Harry Cooper.
Harry is just staring at the door like, I'm not going to let him in. And then he's like, literally just like, I've got to get that gun. It's like, oh, get over yourself.
Yeah, I know.
But also, this is the real takeaway, okay? You were like, oh, we're watching 1968 or the 1990 remake. And I don't want to watch it. We're never going to watch the 1990. Well, the 1990 remake is really bad.
So we've got to watch it.
Yeah, you're right, actually. Yeah. To be honest, I don't know. Maybe we'll do that, because obviously the remake of Dawn of the Dead is considered a classic. So maybe at some point in another Spooktober, I don't think we should do zombies next year. We should mix it up. Maybe do demons. I fucking hate demons. But maybe next time we do zombies for Spooktober, we can look at the remakes. But I will tell you this: in the 1990s, the arsehole guy is the best character, because he has a habit of calling every single person he doesn't like a yo-yo. And it's just the best thing ever. He goes, "What are you doing, you yo-yo? Oh, you yo-yo, you've just let them in, you yo-yo."
Sounds fantastic.
You would have to, and also the best thing about the 1990 remake as well is that the people who die at the end is like different. And the woman survives to the end, and so does the arsehole guy. So the woman goes upstairs, the arsehole guy goes into the basement, okay? And the woman, she comes downstairs, the arsehole guy comes out of the basement, he's like, "Hey, good job. You saved the day, you yo-yo." And then she shoots him. She like shoots him at point blank range just because she doesn't like him. So there we go. Okay. But in general, it's just I love. So basically, what I'm saying is, this whole film would have been so much better if they would have just taken that little trait of the arsehole guy, because it's so funny. It just calls everyone a yo-yo. And acting. Also, I'll just say. So
be quick.
The brother. Okay, the brother's an interesting character because he's like just weird when he goes, "They're coming to get you, Barbara."
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seemed a bit strange. Like, I don't know. People don't do that in real life.
Okay.
And also, Barbara, I don't know. For some reason, all my acting things are about like the beginning. The way she's like suddenly becomes really angry with her brother. She's like perfectly fine. She's like, "Stop doing that. You're scaring me. You're being ignorant." And it was like, she was like kind of just laughing it off at first, and then she just got really angry. And I was like, okay, kind of feels like the script probably just said, Barbara becomes angry. And so Barbara became angry. Anyway, themes. Hit me with your theme stick.
Yeah, no, I think you're right on that Barbara point. Yeah, the acting isn't the best, but I guess, whatever. So we shall move on to the themes, like you said, Michael, and there are a number of themes associated with this movie which I was surprised at. while looking at this movie, but I guess it was released in the 1960s, so it's got to have some themes in it, and I think Romero makes a comment similar to that. Anyway, so, since its release, some critics and film historians have interpreted Night of the Living Dead as a subversive film that critiques the 1960s, American society, international Cold War politics, and domestic racism. Elliot Stein of The Village Voice saw the film as an ardent critique of American involvement in the Vietnam War, arguing that it was not set in Transylvania, but Pennsylvania. This was Middle America at war, and the zombie carnage seemed a grotesque echo of the conflict then raging in Vietnam. Film historian Sumiko Higashi concurs, arguing The Night of the Living Dead was a film about the horrors of the Vietnam era. While she admits that there are no Vietnamese in The Night of the Living Dead, they constitute an absent presence whose significance can be understood if narrative is construed. She points to the aspects of the Vietnam War paralleled in the film: grainy black and white newsreels, search and destroy operations, helicopters, and graphic carnage. And in the 2009 documentary film Nightmares in Red, White and Blue, the zombies in the film are compared to the silent majority of the United States in the late 1960s. So, could this be an allegory for the Vietnam War, Michael? How it tore Middle America apart?
I think there's some argument for that, in that obviously you have you do have the Vietnam War image is helicopter flying across the rice fields with a bunch of troops running through it, and in this film you get the helicopter going across the cornfields, I guess. I don't think it's a cornfield, but we'll pretend it's a cornfield, with some American militia moving through it. So I suppose you could say that there are some ways in which you could kind of see that. And I guess also, what I think this film does, in some sense, kind of introduce, I think, maybe, is the classic thing, which is maybe people are the real monsters, and the idea that the zombie attacks, in some way, there's some equivalence between the two things. And I guess you could kind of get that from the fact, obviously, that the people are mercilessly hunting down zombies and killing them. So I don't know. I don't think I would necessarily say it's a direct Vietnam War comparison, but I think you could make an argument that it does speak to kind of the human desire to bond together. Yeah, let's say bond together and kill, which is obviously what they start doing. They're we'll just come together and form a little militia and just start shooting some zombies. And I guess you could say, hey, that's exactly what zombies do. They come together in a big group and they kill people. So yeah, I don't know, but I wouldn't say direct, exactly.
Well, I think it's more,
but I'd say that's a part of it.
It's more the trauma that the Middle America faced with Vietnam, because obviously the Vietnam War famously was the first time where Americans got their, war
they got rinsed
straight into their living rooms. Because obviously you had Walter Cronkite on the news reporting from Vietnam, and you had all the soldiers dying, and this was a war unlike any other in American history. So
in that sense, I do think
so
you're right. I think there's other things which you could say, in general, kind of the rise of mass media for reporting bad things. But Vietnam would be a contemporary example.
Yeah, so you're getting this terror right at your doorstep, like you kind of had it right in your living room with the Vietnam War. So I think that is the comparison there. Also, so that's one possible theme, that it was referencing the Vietnam War and the horror that inflicted on Middle America. Another one, film historian Robert Wood sees the flesh-eating scenes of The Night of the Living Dead as the late 1960s critique of American capitalism. Wood asserts that the zombies represent capitalists, and cannibalism represents the ultimate impossessiveness, hence the logical end of human relations under capitalism. He argues that the zombies' victims symbolise the repression of the other in bourgeois American society, namely activists in the civil rights movement, feminists, homosexuals, and counterculturalists in general. So basically capitalism eats everything, it destroys everything, and eventually, obviously, the end point, the very, very end point is cannibalism, and so therefore the zombies represent capitalism, because that's what they do. That is again, you could just... this guy, I don't think he's a fan of capitalism, so he's just projecting his own thoughts about capitalism onto this movie.
I think maybe you could say that makes some sense when
it makes sense,
you've watched. I was going to say, if you've watched Dawn of the Dead,
all right,
then and you kind of look back on this film with Dawn of the Dead as a lens, because Dawn of the Dead is definitely. I mean, I don't know. Have you seen it yet?
I haven't. I don't think.
Okay, so
Which one
yeah,
have
Dawn
I
of the
seen?
Dead is. You've probably seen the remake.
Okay.
You've seen Day of the Dead, I think. Dawn of the Dead is a very explicit critique of consumerism, and so I guess you could say, this is a critique of kind of the. So obviously, Dawn of the Dead is kind of a critique of low-level consumerism. You could say this is a critique of high-level capitalism. Again, I think that's not true. And I also think it doesn't really, because I think what Romero has tended to do with his zombie films is kind of critique a different thing with each film. So I don't think it would make sense to say he'd be doing that again with this one.
All right.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think obviously it makes sense. I get his logic, but again, I think he's projecting his own views onto it.
Yeah.
So the last theme of this movie is about race. So many critics of this movie find this movie very groundbreaking for its time due to having a black protagonist. Ben is calm for the most part, calculating and very capable of handling himself and protecting Barbara and the others. Most films up to this point portrayed blacks as lazy and incompetent compared to whites. Ben's speech pattern is normal and not exaggerated like many other black characters at this time. There is also a bit of racial tension between Harry and Ben since they constantly argue because Harry views Ben as a threat, potentially because he is black. Although, obviously, doesn't actually come out.
Yeah, it's never explicitly stated.
Also, the policemen, at the end, shoot Ben, since they view him as a threat zombie and not as a normal human being. Maybe there's something there as well. Maybe that was a meaning. And the grim fate of Dwayne Jones, obviously plays Ben, the sole heroic figure and the only African-American, had added resonance with the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X, fresh in the minds of most Americans. So this is another film critic saying this. In this first ever subversive horror movie, the resourceful black hero survives the zombies, only to be killed by a redneck posse. So again, the black person does the right thing, is calm, isn't a stupid character, is a very smart character, is the hero, if there is one in this movie, and he still dies at the end. Similar to Martin Luther King, and he's just shot by a random redneck. He's the guy who killed Martin Luther King is obviously a racist, and you imagine what he's saying is, this guy, he's a racist as well. As a black person, let's shoot him. So, that is something that you, again, can project onto this movie. So what do you think? Do you think that is a good
I think it makes, I think, the most sense. So obviously, like I say, I think Romero has tried to make most of his films have some kind of element of commentary to them. And I think if I was going to say this about anything, I would say it's generally broadly about the whole 1960s counterculture movement. So I would say it's kind of because obviously Vietnam in many ways led to the hippie movement, which then led to second wave feminism and I guess kind of the beginnings of the gay rights movement. Although obviously gay rights wasn't really a huge thing back then. And then obviously, or wasn't kind of like a thing that had a lot of success back then. And then obviously kind of related almost in parallel to that would be the race element and obviously the civil rights movement. And so I think it probably is dealing with those to some extent. Although having said that, if it's doing it, it's kind of very subtle because obviously Harry is not explicitly a racist and you can't really say that Ben is killed because he's black. He's killed because he's mistaken for a zombie. So it's kind of a bit strange in a way that obviously if the film is saying something about that, then it's not saying it very clearly. So I think you could say there is something there. I mean, obviously...
Well, you're right. If it is that...
for example, I think the decision to cast a black actor and have the black actor be kind of a heroic character, I think that must have been conscious.
Well, Romero just said he did the best job, so that's what he said.
Okay, really?
Whatever. I mean, maybe he's just lying there. But yeah, you're right. If it is to do with race, it is to do with Martin Luther King being killed, it's nuanced, it's subtle, and again, you would only, like a casual viewer, wouldn't get it.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll have to see. If it is true, then if that bit is true, if that was intentional, then yeah, it's very good. I do. That's very, very good filmmaking. But again, I think it's unlikely. And I think in talking about the three themes, whether it's about the Vietnam War, whether it's about capitalism, whether it's about race, They could all be true, I guess, but if one was the most true, I would say it's the first one about how this was about the Vietnam War and America going into the Vietnam War and Middle America being traumatized by that, just like they're traumatized by all these zombies coming into their homes and killing them.
I suppose, actually, sorry, I'm going to suddenly throw something out here, but I think you could say maybe it's about kind of the collapse of the 1950s ideal America. So, like, the idea was in kind of the 1950s, there was an idea that America was, like, perfect. And especially if you were a white person who was middle class in middle America, who didn't live in a particularly diverse place.
Yeah.
And your impression of the world would be, hey, I've got 2 cars in my garage. I've got a nice big house with 4 bedrooms. I've got a big garden. I invite the neighbours over for a Sunday lunch after church, and we get to eat meat, and we get to watch inoffensive family comedy on the TV. And then obviously the 1960s comes along and says, hey, no, everything isn't fine. There are problems, and you have to face them.
And one of the biggest problems is the Vietnam War, I guess. That's the state.
And I think to kind of bring it back to almost where we started, with the fact that the thing about this film and what makes it scary is not necessarily that the zombies present a huge threat. And I'm going to have a big brain moment here, but you could say in the same sense that marginalized, underprivileged groups do not present a major threat to white middle class people. But what's so scary about the zombies in Night of the Living Dead is not the fact that they really present a horrible, insurmountable threat. It's the fact that they're a reminder that there's a certain fragility to our societal comfort. That, we're all happy knowing that we can go to the supermarket and buy food, and the supermarket's not going to run out of food unless no deal Brexit happens.
Yeah.
And we're happy knowing we can trust our neighbours and we can leave our doors unlocked and things like that. That's nobody believes that now, but we can leave our doors unlocked and everyone's going to be polite to each other. And these are all things we're very comfortable believing. And obviously, if suddenly people start slowly walking towards you with the intention of murdering you, yeah, you can probably take them out. But you don't like the fact that you're now that comfort you once had with everyone around you is gone.
Yeah, and it makes your point makes sense by the fact that the white character is the one who's most freaked out about it, which is Barbara. She doesn't know what's going on. She's just a total mess. While the black character, you could argue, well, he's more used to in America, in American society, he's more used to trauma and all of that because he is black. He can deal with it. Easily.
Holy shit, Luke! Double big moment. Okay. So obviously we've already said, so basically the parallel here is that likewise the the social upheaval of the 1960s, similarly, it wasn't a huge problem for the white middle class. It wasn't like it presented a serious threat to them. Black people being allowed to eat at the same restaurants as white people wouldn't present a serious threat to white people. But the idea that something was wrong with society and something needed to be fixed, and that there was actually a threat to some people, that was what was the real triggering thing. And what does Harry want? Harry wants to barricade himself in the basement.
Yes.
He wants to just stay rooted in his secure position, and Ben's saying, no, you have to stay up here and fight, and you have to confront this problem. He's like, no, I want to stay in the basement. I want to barricade because I've got this strong thing, and the zombies won't be able to push against it.
Yeah, he's got his family in there as well, yeah.
And his family too. And then obviously you've got the younger white person. We're having a thing, okay? The younger white person, Billy, is like, hey, no, maybe we should actually do what Ben wants to do. Maybe we should stay up here and fight. And obviously that reflects how the younger generation of middle American white people who were going off to college and things like that were becoming more socially conscious.
Yeah, in the counterculture and all that, yeah.
Boom, my mind is in recovery mode from all these big ideas, important ideas.
There you go. My brain is still in recovery mode from all these big ideas.
To be honest, I think we kind of got there. I mean, honestly, that's a pretty comprehensive...
we did it. We nailed this movie. No, I was thinking that when... Because all the characters come in, but initially I was thinking that when Ben was... Obviously, he's black and he's in the 1960s. So I was like, this character's black and this woman is white and she's having a panic attack and he's, being rational. I was like, maybe it is about how black people can just deal with trauma in American society more easily because they're used to it, compared to the white people who are just having to deal with it for the first time in the late 1960s. With Vietnam and all of that shit. But I guess that is it. So shall we...
Yeah, sorry, I had one other thing to bring up because it's tiny, but I just... So obviously, thinking about the zombies and also kind of themes, in most zombie films, obviously, so in White Zombie we had magic. In the modern zombie film, everyone understands it's viruses. Everyone's like, oh yeah, zombies, it's caused by viruses. This film, it's radiation, which... is obviously interesting. But the main thing I was just going to say is that obviously radiation would be a concern for Americans in the 60s. So obviously, number one, that's kind of a unique thing. You don't see that anymore with like zombies. It's never like, oh, the zombies were caused by radiation. It's always, remember mad cow disease? Or it became mad human disease. Or it's always that. It's never radiation, but obviously, yeah. So nuclear war, serious threat, radiation.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. So, shall we move on to conclusion now? Do you want to go first or shall I go first?
Yeah, you said you wanted to look at some of the reviews. Have you kind of
yeah, shit. Yeah, no, sorry.
Okay,
I forgot about that. Well, I'll just go through it quickly.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
because we've gone on for a while.
It's not too bad.
So
but yeah,
Roger Ebert, him just describing his experience going to the movie. Where is this critical reception? Where are we, Roger Ebert? Where are you? Here we go. It's in the release. So here is him. So he went to a afternoon screening because the MPAA film rating was not in place until November.
Yeah. I was thinking about that.
Yeah. So it was 1 month before, so kids could go and see this movie. So the kids in the audience were stunned. There was almost complete silence. The movie had stopped being delightfully scary about halfway through and had become unexpectedly terrifying. There was a little girl across from me, maybe 9 years old, who was sitting very still in her seat and crying. It's so hard to remember what sort of effect this movie might have on you when you were 6 or 7, but try to remember at that age, kids take the events on screen seriously, and they identify fiercely with the hero. When the hero is killed, that's not an unhappy ending, but a tragic one. Nobody got out alive. It's just over. That's all. So yeah, pretty depressing ending to a terrifying movie. It must have been quite scarring if you were a kid. And response from Variety after the initial release reflects the outrage generated by Romero's film. Until the Supreme Court, establishes clear-cut guidelines for the pornography of violence, Night of the Living Dead will serve nicely as an outer limit definition by example. In a mere 90 minutes, this horror film, pun intended, get it, casts serious aspersions on the integrity and social responsibility of its Pittsburgh-based makers, distributor Walter Reed, the film industry as a whole, and exhibitors who book the picture, as well as raising doubts about the future of the regional cinema movements and about the moral health of filmgoers who cheerfully opt for this unrivaled orgy of sadism. Wow. So, they did not like this film, and obviously, things have changed a lot in 50 years since then, and, these movies come out every fucking 2 months now, which are 10 times more gory than this. So, yeah. Again, it's just hilarious to look back on these reviews, kind of like we did with the 90s and the South Park thing, when the moral Dorothy. It's getting progressively better as time goes on. But yes, and the Joker movie, of course, the Joker movie recently. So yeah, it's still happening. 50 years.
Yeah, people still do get triggered.
50 years later, and obviously when the Joker comes out, we'll review all the controversy around that, or the fake controversy rather. But anyway, yeah. So that's that, I guess. Shall we conclude? You go first, because I've talked for a bit.
All right, I'll go first. Okay, so this film, it's good. It's a classic. I think there are things that hold it back. So I guess I'll say on the positive side, I think the main things we have already really covered, which are kind of the fact that it is the first film, and you do get this real sense of panic, this real sense of like confusion, and that is communicated very well. It does feel kind of intensely realistic, and I do think that death of the character at the end is kind of a intense moment, and obviously intense moments in films are often good, even if they're kind of negative intense moments, as it were. So I like that. Having said that, there are a few things I think which hold it back, mainly the kind of stupidity of some of the plans in the film, and also the fact that the zombies are very weak, basically. I mean, they're not that intimidating, and I think that makes the film lack a certain degree of excitement. There are things in the film which are, really kind of interesting, like, for example, the scene of all the organs being eaten and things like that, which you kind of then begin to see in later films where you've got characters having their organs eaten as they're being torn out of their bodies and stuff like that. And again, you do have to an extent, just give credit to how classic this film is. And I'm going to place it probably, I think I'm feeling a mid-6. And I'm actually going to place it. I just looked to my mid-6 section, and I think I'm going to place it right next to Zombieland, and I'm going to put it above Zombieland. So I think Zombieland obviously was kind of a bit of a standard film, as your kind of standard zombie film. It was a bit uninspired. I mean, there were a lot of things to like about it, but there were also a lot of things kind of that were just basic and simple about it. And I think, if you're going to say that Zombieland is that good, you got to give some credit to the film, which is literally just as good, and it inspired all those things that Zombieland needed to be the film it is. So yeah, I'm going to put Night of the Living Dead just above Zombieland and just below it. So between two horror films. But yeah, Night of the Living Dead there in the kind of mid-6.
Okay, so I'll go now. I think, to be honest, this movie, you summed it up well. I think it's not that scary. I think that's the biggest hit against it. It's a horror movie and it's not scary, but it was in the 60s, and the organs, they caused such a furore with the media that I think, Romero couldn't have really gone much further. Having said that, I think, some of the decisions in this movie, like you said, they're a bit stupid. Some of the characters are a bit stupid. Some of the deaths are a bit stupid. But overall, I think what really saves it is the themes. Obviously, we had a big conversation about the themes just like 10 minutes ago. And I have to say, I think Romero intended it. So if he intended to make this movie about more than just zombies killing people, which by just looking at his Wikipedia, the Wikipedia page, he says, it was 1968, every movie had a message, so this movie does have a message, and I think it's a very good message if it is about the trauma that American society had to deal with in the 1960s in relation to Vietnam and all that, which white America had never felt before, had never faced before, or hadn't, at least since World War II. So, having said that, I can't give it higher than a 7, I think. So that's going to be a 7 out of 10 for Night of the Living Dead. So there we go.
Yes.
What will we do next week, Michael?
Next week, we are continuing by looking at the next 2 of the original Romero of the Dead trilogy. We are looking at Dawn of the Dead, a classic, and Day of the Dead, which is considered. It's a bit of a dark horse in the original trilogy. Everyone knows Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead. Day of the Dead, it often gets forgotten, but I think it's a very significant film, and it's worth watching. So we'll be watching Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead. Okay,
thank you. So we have been selecting and reflecting on White Zombie and also Night of the Living Dead because, well, it's Spooktober, so they are the first zombie movies, both the first ever zombie movie and the first proper zombie movie in Night of the Living Dead. Join us next week for Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead. Who have you been, Michael?
I've been Michael.
And I've been Luke. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.
Goodbye.